After spending a day at the lake, Sarah was thrilled to return home with the little treasure she had discovered. It resembled an egg, but it was far too large to be from a fish. Curious, she decided to consult a marine biologist about it, and he was astounded by what she had brought him. As Sarah watched the marine biologist's friendly demeanor shift to one of disbelief, she began to question what she had stumbled upon. He quickly called his colleagues into his office and began typing on his computer. When he turned the screen towards Sarah, she was met with an image and description that left her astonished. What exactly had she found in the lake, and why was it so surprising? Now, let's rewind to the beginning. Sarah didn't usually venture to the lake alone. Usually her husband Christopher would join her for their weekly hike. However, he was overworked and needed some rest. This, however, did not stop Sarah, who loved going on these walks. She was even a bit excited to enjoy herself and take all the time she wanted on the walk. This is what allowed her to spot something strange in the water. It was always very calm and quiet around the lake, and that day was no exception. The lake was located about an hour's drive from the city, and it wasn't very popular among fishermen because there wasn't much of anything to catch in those waters. Or was there? On that day, Sarah had made it halfway across the lake when a flock of birds attracted her attention. They seemed surprisingly active and were diving into the water a lot. She had never seen them do that before, so it piqued her interest. It looked like the birds were hunting something. But if there were never any fish in the lake, what were the birds trying to catch? Well, it didn't take Sarah long to find out, but it would only lead to more questions. Seemingly out of nowhere, something began to emerge on the surface of the lake. It was as if the activity from the birds had brought something up from the bottom of the lake. As you can imagine, they went wild because they finally got what they wanted. They were blocking Sarah's view, so she couldn't see what they were so excited about. But luck was on her side because, in all this hustle and bustle, something else had surfaced not far from the birds, and the water was slowly moving the object toward the water's edge. Sarah knew that was her chance to see what the birds were going crazy about. She kept an eye on the object and then ran along the edge of the lake to where it was. She just hoped none of the birds noticed her. When they were done with their frenzy, they quickly turned their attention to the prey that had managed to escape. Sarah immediately understood that she had very little time to reach the object before the birds got to it. She didn't know what it was, but she already felt very protective of it and didn't want the birds to damage or hurt whatever it was. Finally, Sarah reached the object and stood over it, waving her arms like a maniac in an attempt to scare the birds away. But they were determined, not as determined as Sarah, who kept getting in their way. After a few minutes of this, the birds finally gave up and flew away into the forest. Only then did Sarah have a chance to look down and see what she had found. To be completely honest, she had no idea what she was looking at. She had never seen anything like it before, but since it was at the bottom of the lake and the birds were desperately trying to reach it, she speculated that it was food of some kind. Could it be some kind of fish egg? But the object was quite large, so what kind of fish could lay an egg of that size? Sarah had been going to that lake for years, and she had been in the water as well, so she started to wonder if she had shared the lake with a large creature without knowing it. Oh, the thought sent a shiver down her spine. She shook it off and put the unsettling thought away. After all, nothing bad had ever happened to her in the lake. She was very curious about what she had found, though. If it was some kind of egg, she wanted to know what fish or creature it came from. There must be someone in the area who could help her figure it out, but first, she would tell her husband all about her discovery. Sarah got back to her car and found a Tupperware container that her husband had forgotten to take out. She emptied it, filled it with lake water, and placed the egg in it. She had no idea if the thing needed water or not, but since it had been underwater, she didn't want to risk it. Better to be safe than sorry. Before heading home, Sarah gave her husband a call to tell him about this strange discovery and her experience with the birds. He was completely surprised by it. Later, he would share that he didn't understand why she fought the birds so hard over it. He didn't say anything to her at the moment because he had learned not to go against his wife in these situations. She was clearly interested in the object, and he didn't want to be unsupportive. Also, he knew his wife. If Sarah was determined to do something, She would do it and wouldn't stop until she was satisfied. Judging by the way she had protected the egg from the birds, it was clear to him that this was one of those times when she would get to the bottom of whatever this was. When Sarah called her husband, he was working from home, and he begged her to come back so he could see the egg and help her come up with a plan to figure out what it was. Sarah was a little hesitant because she had no idea how long the egg would survive out of the lake, but she decided she had to do something. Anything. She had tried to Google it and see if she could find local experts, but reception was pretty bad in the area. She considered putting the egg back in the water, but she was afraid that the birds would go back for it. Driving home to figure things out was probably her best chance. Sarah raced home, relieved to find the roads empty. She made sure to stay within the speed limit, as a ticket was the last thing she wanted. An hour later, she arrived home, expecting Christopher to be waiting for her outside. Disappointment washed over her when she saw he was busy working, seemingly less interested in her discovery. When she asked if he had found an expert to consult about the egg, Christopher admitted he had completely forgotten, which frustrated her since he had promised to help. Determined, Sarah grabbed the laptop and locked herself in the bedroom with the egg still in its Tupperware container, wanting to avoid distractions. After searching online for about half an hour, she found no information about the egg. Eager to uncover the truth, she decided her best option was to find a marine biology expert. A quick Google search revealed a marine biology department in town that she had never heard of before, but she figured it was her best chance for answers. Upon arriving, she managed to speak with one of the experts, whose reaction was one of pure shock. It turned out that Sarah had discovered a rare musky animal that hadn't been seen in the area for years. The marine biologist was thrilled by her find, as it indicated that the muskie population was returning to the lake, allowing for potential conservation efforts. Sarah felt a surge of satisfaction knowing she had defended the animal from the birds. It was a reminder that you never know what a day might bring. She had set out for a simple walk, only to stumble upon something extraordinary. Life has a funny way of surprising you. What do you think of this story? Let us know in the comments section. I hope you liked this story. Please give it a thumbs up, share, subscribe, and press the bell icon to never miss the update from our channel. Thank you.